Yeah, I didn't. Oh, yeah, 40% of the last meeting. Set up. I wanted to. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started for tonight. Thank you all for coming out. Um, this is the Miami County Planning Commission. We are going to start the evening with a public hearing, and this is for a rezone of the North 31 corridor that is around the state police post. So we're going to go ahead and open that part of the evening for the public hearing. We'll get to the rest of our meeting here in just a second. At our last meeting, it was presented that there are gaps in the zoning ordinance. And so the area basically around the truck stop, REMC, and the state police, our current zoning ordinance shows null. So Corey has been working for a couple of months to get the zoning to align with the current use, presented that at our last meeting. And we are in a public hearing right now to take public comment on that project specifically. So before we get started from the public, any questions for the board on the proposed zoning map for the North 31 corridor there? Say from the board? Yes, from the board. Yeah, do you guys have any questions for Corey on that? You've had a month here to review this. And again, what we're trying to do is to match it to what the current use is today.
Did we talk about leaving that trapezoidal industrial parcel on the west side of North Eel River Cemetery Road, leaving that? Or did the owner maybe request that be changed?
No, we talked about it, but I don't think I remember to go back and change it.
Well, maybe they're here tonight. That's a possibility. So that's my only comment.
Okay, is that the parcel just above the state police post?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, currently right now it is being farmed, and so unless we wanted to change that for potential future development.
Or you mean?
What'd you say?
You could, leave it. You said change it.
Sorry. Leave it the way it's drafted right now as reverting back to farmland. Or we could leave it, or we could change it to industrial if you wanted it for future development. We have it proposed going from I1 to an A something.
Yeah, so they requested that. Well, I don't have huge heartburn about it, but maybe they're here tonight, so maybe that'll shed some light on it. I don't even know what the parcel number is for that one.
It's probably
Yeah, but I know there was one on the east side that they did ask for.
I believe that trapezoid that you're talking about is actually owned by the Indiana State Police.
On the west side of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No. The Parkland is the last.
Okay.
Again, it's not a hang up for me, but maybe when we open it up for public comment, maybe here, I think shed some light on that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak for or against the zoning, any of the affected landowners? Yes, if you could just come up here, I just need your name and address for the record.
My name's Sandy Moorcraft, and the address is 3148 West, 200 North. It's not coming through.
This is the only working microphone that we have. Yes, go ahead.
My question is, if they change on the west side, to business, and those of us, we've got a horse, does that affect our animals?
Yeah, no, so this is only the parcels that are being rezoned business currently have a business on them. So it would not affect anything that you're doing with, with your parcels.
So would it still be considered agricultural on that side, or would it be
Yeah,
business?
it's whatever it is today. So we're not changing any of your zoning. Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? Yes.
Excuse me. Tori Kendall, 101.5 East Main Street. You said this is already being used as farmland.
No, it's already being used as businesses. So our zoning map was said that these areas were null,
Okay.
basically. So we're updating them. So it's the state police post, the truck stop, what would be the concert venue. It's that sliver of basically everything around the 31 corridor. So we're updating it to reflect how it's currently being used today.
Okay, and what's the proposal? To change it to what?
So there are. So it is a mix of B3. We've got a business that is industrial over there. So there's a couple I1s. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There looks like there's 19 parcels there. Yeah, so it's basically from 24, 31, that little sliver up to the state police post.
Where you said something about changing it from I2 or I1 to A1 or A2. I would support that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing.
A second? Second. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. That public hearing is adjourned. We will go ahead and start our agenda for this evening. This is the March 11th, 2006 meeting of the Miami County Planning Commission. We'll go ahead with a quick little roll call for attendance, please.
Tim Alwine.
Here.
Dan Hunt.
Here.
Brad City.
Here.
Carla Graves.
Here.
Brett Palmer.
Here.
Fred Musselman.
Here.
Amy Hopper.
Here.
Matt Smith.
Here.
Greg Wilkinson.
Here.
Courtney Schmidt.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Next is the approval of minutes. This was from our meeting on February 11th. That was in the GAR room. Any questions or comments on those as submitted?
A motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The second. Motion carries. Jamie.
I think.
Or Brent, sorry. Okay, we'll go ahead with the staff report, please.
Looking at the work that we were able to do in February. Looking at the work we were able to do in February, we did issue 25 permits, which was up about 14% from last year. Those consisted of 6 additions, 1 carport, a commercial storage building, 1 demolition, 1 new dwelling, 3 electric, 1 greenhouse, 3 full buildings, 2 pools, 2 remodels, 3 roofs, and a storage shed. You do not have any ag permits. I was surprised by that, but no ag permits requested tonight. We did close out 44 permits, so pretty hefty amount there closed. We did process 5 split applications, assigned 3 new addresses. Looking at the revenue side from permits, we did bring in $9,293. There are 3 variances that are applied for tonight. 15 contractors registered as well. Unsafe building side of things, we did have 1 complaint that came in, and I was able to close out 1 case. So it's a wash there. We do have 37 active cases still. looking at the unsafe building kind of thing. So you want to take the violation side of it?
Over the past month, our office received 8 new complaints, 7 of which resulted in active violation cases. At the same time, I was able to resolve 3 cases, bringing our current total to 111 active cases, which is a 12% increase compared to last February. 1 case was forwarded to our attorney, bringing his total to 25 active cases. We also issued 2 violation fines totaling $75, and 1 lien was placed in the amount of $160 due to unpaid violation fines. We did not receive any violation fine or partial judgment payments last month. On a more positive note, I was able to release 17 liens that had been previously placed, with $2,295 being paid in full from fall settlement. Looking at the 8 new complaints, 1 was related to a stop work order that was placed on January 7th, 2026. The property owner has failed to make contact with our office. 1 case involved an easement or right-of-way encroachment concern. 1 was a new potentially unsafe building case, and the remaining 5 complaints were for garbage and other debris on properties. The encroachment complaint was quickly resolved after the property owner provided documentation showing they were within their property line. The remaining cases are currently being worked toward compliance. Overall, it was a productive month, and I'm preparing for the increase in grass complaints that tend to come along with the upcoming warmer weather.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll move to finance report, please.
Yeah, looking at our expenses from last month, we did not have too many. We had 1 for the legal notice for the hearing tonight, and then attorney charges, gas bill, and then some reimbursements from variances. The one thing that I did pay out this week that was a little different, we had our first bill for the comprehensive plan update that we are doing, and that was a $12,110 that we did pay out to Taylor Cypher and Williams Design Group. There. Overall, we are still plenty healthy on our budgets. We already had budgeted in, and I had carried over money from last year for that comprehensive plan update. So budget is healthy right now for the year.
Okay, any questions on expenses? Okay, any committee reports for tonight?
Yeah, there is a committee report. If you look in your current meeting files, you'll see there is a note from TSW Design Group for the work that they have done so far on the comprehensive plan update. They've done quite a bit of work here, as we've had steering committees that have been formed and met. They've already done some public outreach items. There are surveys going. It's just a quick update there so that you can see we are quickly closing out the first phase of this plan update, which is that data collection piece from the community. Here pretty soon, I think week after next, we will be starting on our focus group meetings. So there have been specific people and businesses, entities in the community that have been targeted to hopefully get their response on. So those focus groups will be coming here, and I believe that would be the first part, the end of the first phase here with the comp plan. So we are still on track to get this closed out, hopefully by September 12th, I believe, is the target date to be updated on our comprehensive plan.
Did they follow up and indicate if we got pretty good coverage around the county with the surveys they did?
I want to say somewhere in, I don't know if it was on this letter or in the communication that I've had with the design group, there was decent coverage on the survey. I think they would have liked to see a little more participation, but we did have a pretty good turnout for the open house, which was, I think, maybe balanced it out a little bit.
Any other questions? Any other committee reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and start with old business for tonight. The only item of old business we have is a discussion on the data center moratorium or the ordinance discussion. So the ordinance committee met a couple times here in the last couple of weeks to work on a draft ordinance. That has been provided in your packet there. A huge thanks to everybody that submitted comments that related to what you would like to see in an ordinance. We really appreciate. There were lots of good emails that had suggestions. I had an opportunity to meet with some folks, so thank you very much for those. A lot of that went into drafting that ordinance. A little bit about, kind of the discussion that we've been having here is that tonight we would try to make a decision on if we're going to move forward with a moratorium or if we're going to move forward with a public hearing for the ordinance. So just kind of a primer on how planning and zoning works. This body here is a recommended body. We are not a rulemaking body. So everything that we do still has to go to the commissioners. And if they can either approve it, they can send it back to us, or they can kill it. And so even though we are looking forward to taking action, whatever we do still has to go to the commissioners for any sort of adoption. And again, they can agree or disagree with us there. As we've had a discussion around the moratorium part, it's our understanding that a moratorium can only be put in place as a stopgap until an ordinance has been adopted. And Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong down there, but that's the legal advice that we've had. You can't just have a moratorium that's indefinite while you're not working on some sort of an ordinance there. So we've had, again, a lot of good comments. So whatever the board decides to do here, we will have to have another public hearing at the April meeting. That hearing on the 11th is when you can agree, disagree, give us whatever comments that you like about the draft language. So you're either going to give comments on the moratorium or you're going to give comments on the draft ordinance. So there will be lots of time for public comment then, and then you'll have an opportunity again to talk about with the commissioners, give your thoughts for or against any of that legislation there. So that's a little bit about the process that Planning Commission goes through as we're working through a lot of these issues, and especially drafting a new ordinance, can be quite a chore. So there is a draft ordinance that the ordinance committee has put together. Corey has it. I believe Mark has done a quick review of it. I don't know. Does anybody that was on the ordinance committee want to run through any thoughts that were discussed or anything that's in the draft ordinance?
Can you tell them how it correlates with like the state and everything? Like it's
So that's a great point, Scarlett. One of the things that we looked at in the ordinance committee is what does the county get to regulate and what does the state regulate? And so one of the things that we look at, these data center structures are obviously a commercial sort of structure. And so a lot of what we looked at was what is regulated when you get into the large facilities, what the state what is it, the state building or state fire marshal. So there's what's called a state design release that you have to go through. That's where they get to tell you how you build things, what kind of fire ratings, what your electrical codes are. And then there's also DNR regulates a lot of the water, high capacity water users. So a lot of what we looked at as well is what does the state regulate and what does the county regulate? Sometimes it's difficult for a county with a limited staff to put additional regulations on what the state does and keep up with that. This is the same thing that our livestock producers go through with IDIM and CAFO permits. So a lot of times these ordinances, the county gets to decide where you want them. The state helps you from the state building code say how you would actually build these. So there was a lot of research that went in there on looking at what does the state already regulate, what do they not regulate, what can the county regulate. Any other comments?
Maybe if you want to point out why we need the ordinance, like right now.
Yeah. So That's a great point. Thank you. So why we need the ordinance, right now, we have what's called an allowed uses table that's in our ordinance that says where you can build structures. Right now, it's called a computer center, which tells you how long it's been since that part of the ordinance has been updated. That allows these to be built in a business or industrial area. And so if we don't have an ordinance, then essentially any project that conforms in those areas can get a building permit and move forward. So the purpose of the ordinance is also to put the stipulations around what you have to submit, what you have to do. We saw this with the solar renewable energy ordinance. There are additional restrictions that are on those projects. And so that's part of the reason why we're looking at the ordinance, is so that here are all the things that you have to think about, that you have to submit, and here's where you can do one of these projects. So that's the whole intent with drafting an ordinance.
A little background of data centers currently in the county.
Yeah, so I don't know if I have a good background on it. As part of our design, what do I want to say? The developmental plan review committee. Corey's got too many acronyms. Anyway, a committee that reviews all the commercial projects in the county. The one person that petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a project currently has one facility, a small facility that we're aware of that's in the Grissom Aeroplex. So.
In the high school.
Yeah, and I believe that the high school has a facility, as a small facility as well. So, one of the other things that we spent a lot of time on is what Scarlett brings up. You got to be really careful with your definitions so that you don't have any unintended consequences. And so, for example, if a school wants to build a small one, right, a very small room, you want to make sure that you're not dragging in a bunch of regulation for that, and vice versa. A very large one, you want to make sure that there's the appropriate controls to make sure that project is managed. So we have learned that definitions matter quite a bit, and so we've tried to take that into consideration when coming up with a draft ordinance. So
I think it would be educational or informative if you would talk about, just because people are very concerned about water usage, things of that nature, the 3 different types of cooling systems and the ones that we are proposing would be.
So I'll go through maybe some highlights. Obviously, we will provide, if the board wants to move forward with this, there will be lots of public copies. It'll be on the website, and we're happy to provide that. But I'll just kind of go over, let's say, the highlights here of what we've put together here. So this does have them still would be allowed within an industrial commercial area. We had that they are permitted only by special exception in an agricultural zone. And so what that means is that if you wanted to do it, you have to now go through BZA. Okay, so that doesn't mean that they're blanket allowed in agriculture. That now says that you have to go in front of BZA for every single one of those projects.
And public notification.
Yeah, so public gets notified. Everybody gets to comment on that project. It is a very public process.
The adjoining property.
The adjoining property owners, everybody gets notified. So the reason we did that was to make sure that if somebody wants to do a project in an agricultural zone, that everybody is aware and everybody has an opportunity to comment. That does not mean, because that language says allowed in the district, it's allowed by special exception, which triggers BZA. That is an additional, additional bar that you have to meet in order for those projects to move forward. There is, let me see here. So we have a provision that only a closed loop water or air cooling system would be allowed, so no open loop. A lot of the utilities would prefer to be placed underground. We have a provision for security and perimeter fencing. We have a large provision for fire department notification and training. We have, they would still have to go through developmental plan review. They still have to submit for a state permit. They still have to get a construction design release. They also have to get an improvement location permit. They have to have registered. If it is a Grissom, there's some language in here. They have to coordinate with what's called the EMT coordinator, so that Grissom knows and has the ability to comment on that. We're asking for, if it is along a state road, a letter of acknowledgement that IDOT is, or DOT has the ability to comment. We're asking for a verification letter from the incumbent utility provider saying that they're able to serve and it will not adversely affect those ratepayers. If there is any water rights or wastewater, we're asking for an assurance letter from that provider that it will not harm the public. The health department has to give their approval. The fire department has to give their approval. There has to be a drainage plan. There then has to be a development plan. And there's 2, 3, 4 pages of what that's going to look like. That includes everything from routes for emergency response to how efficient they're going to be on their energy to a water management plan. We're asking for a noise study and mitigation plan. We're asking how they're going to operate and provide a maintenance plan. They obviously have to have insurance. Let's see, there's a bunch of fire stuff. If they do seek a tax abatement, they have to do that through economic development means. And then we have a provision that if it is more than 100,000 square feet, that there also be an environmental impact analysis done and an environmental impact statement that's provided on that. They have to have a decommissioning plan. They have to have a comprehensive plan. They have to carry insurance. And all of this is subject to zoning review. So those are the highlights. As you'll see, a lot of this incorporates a lot of the feedback that we got from the residents on it. So those are some of the highlights there. So any other questions from the ordinance review committee? Again, all this will be provided depending on what the board wants to do. If this is how they want to go, this will all be provided and we will take lots of public comment if this moves forward at the next meeting. So anything else? Okay. Any other discussion then? So we do have this as an action item on our agenda. Again, I am asking that the board either move forward with a moratorium request or move forward with a ordinance, with a public hearing for the ordinance.
I think we need to put something in there. There are some data centers in the farther out west that are running solely on generator power, like
Okay.
100%. So if there's something about backup generator power, should be something noted about that.
Well,
Running, so they're not running on the grid.
I got you. Okay.
They're 100% powered by generator.
We do have so the only point, Dan, you're going to test my knowledge of this document real fast here. There was an acoustic, I believe
55.
it can only be 55 decibels at the property line.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was. Okay.
Yeah. 55 decibels. I'll make a motion that we move forward and present it to the commissioners.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Graves to move forward with scheduling a public hearing.
I would second that.
I have a second from Brent. Any discussion on this issue? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll go with a roll call vote, please, since I have trouble counting.
Dan Hunt,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're voting to schedule a public hearing.
okay, Tim Alwine,
Yes.
Brad Ruth,
Aye.
Charlotte Gray,
Aye.
Brett Pomeran,
Yes.
Fred Musselman,
Aye.
Jamie Hopper,
Yes.
Lynette Smith,
Yes.
Greg Wilkinson,
Like,
Courtney Schmidt. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
so the motion carries. So we'll go ahead and schedule the public hearing. Much like we did tonight, it'll be right before, so it'll be the first thing. And judging by the turnout here tonight, we'll probably have it back here should the schedule allow. Where's Courtney, please? Yeah, so we'll see if we can have it back here at the next meeting. Yeah, we will try to have, Corey, when can we have copies available online for distribution?
Are we making adjustments like the adjustment that Dan just made?
Well, if his concern was about the noise, there's
He was asking
from the
about-
generator. Right, but why are you concerned about the back or about it being power generator only?
Just, I mean, I know that they're out there, so if they run quiet enough, they can still do it.
Right, that's why I'm saying the sound decibel, it wouldn't change regardless of how they're powered, how much sound they emit. There's a limit to it already in there. 55 decibel at the property.
Are you?
I'm not worried about, it's not the noise.
Okay.
It's just the fact that, are you gonna allow them to run off of generator power? Then they're not, so they don't have to worry about the power grid, about not getting enough power if they run on generators.
Yeah. So I would say we'll go ahead and distribute this draft at the public hearing. If we have language that we would like to change, I would like to do that at the public hearing, just so that we're very open about it and everybody knows that the language is being changed.
So then your original question was, when can we get this online?
Yeah.
We'd be able to do that tomorrow.
Okay. So we'll have that draft language posted. And again, at the public hearing, we really appreciate comments on exactly what language that you would like to change and what you would like to see, much like we saw it in the other one. So,
Hey, Brad,
yes.
public hearing for next month, do you want it here, same time, 6 p.m.?
Yeah, is 6 p.m. okay with the board, or we need
Okay with me.
6:30? Everybody okay with 6? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, yep, we'll do it at 6 o'clock. Okay. Okay, the new business for tonight is, we had the public hearing earlier, for a recommendation to send to the Board of the Commissioners. This is for the US Highway 31 North Corridor rezone.
Motion that we send it to the commission.
I have a motion by Ms. Graves for approval. I have a second by Mr. Allwine. Any discussion on the board for or against? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Tim Allwine,
Yes.
Dan Hunt,
Yes.
Brad Ruth,
Aye.
Charlotte Graves,
Aye.
Brent Palmer,
Yes.
Fred Musselman,
Yes.
Jamie Hopper,
Aye.
Lynette Smith,
Yes.
Greg Wilkinson.
Okay, motion carries. Okay. We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment tonight. Again, this is for the Plain Commission. Know that we will have lots of time at the next public hearing for or against any ordinance, but I will open it up if anybody has any other comments. Keep in mind, Board of Zoning Appeals is going to start in just a minute. So if you have any comments specifically for Plain Commission. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Oh, sorry, I'll just start over here. Tori, if you want to start.
We're in Bell, half East Main Street. So going to public hearing next month, you said second Wednesday again, correct?
Yeah, it's whatever our regular scheduled meeting. Wait, is it Wednesday or Tuesday?
Yeah, I believe the 8th.
8?
Yeah.
Yes, like, second, you are still taking considerations for different languages in the draft or changing the draft?
Yeah, so that's the point of the public comment, is that we're more than happy to do that. And then what will occur during the meeting, is that then it'll be very open about what we're changing. Everybody will have to vote on that.
So then if things do get changed at the next public hearing, it gets voted on, it won't have to go to another public hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yep. And then it'll go to commissioners.
Yeah.
And then they'll get to hear it there too.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Elaine, I think I saw.
There are people sending me texts that they can't get it because you're not videotaped. I thought you had to.
Recording, the internet does not support live streaming here. So that's why we have this laptop here. It is recorded and it will be posted afterward. So that is the conundrum that we're currently in, is that the GAR room can support the live stream, but cannot hold that many people. We can hold more people here, but the video has to be posted after the meeting concludes, which I believe the law, Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, is I think it's within 24, 48 hours of the meeting, it has to be posted. So
Yeah, but on microphone because Charlotte sitting right there beside you watching the speaking microphone. I couldn't even worse this morning.
we'll be glad to work on that for you at the next meeting.
Just so you know, Elaine, he followed up with everything I asked him to. He covered it all.
Okay, I think I saw a hand over here. Yeah.
Ron Corba, 365 West Learn, Indiana. I was just curious about what Mr. Hunt was saying about the noise. I couldn't really hear what he was saying. I was wondering if he could say a little more about that. What he was saying.
Yeah, so I won't, you correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but he was asking, he's heard that there's some data centers that operate out west solely 100% on generator. And so he was concerned about that. In the draft ordinance that we had prepared, there is a regulation that says at the property line, it can't be any louder than 55 decibels. So
Regardless of how it's powered.
regardless of how it's powered. So if the generators are running, if there is a generator, then it has to, it can't exceed 55 decibels at the property line.
I mean, I know you can get a ton of stuff on the internet, but I have seen a clip where a lady lived next to a Bitcom center that was much bigger than the one that they were proposing here. And you could hear that thing humming from her yard. She said that was the only thing she would like to have some peace and quiet because it's like a steady hum all the time.
Sure. Yep. So that is also, I'll just make a comment. That's also why in this ordinance, we said these need to be in industrial and business areas. These need to not be next to residential areas. So, thank you. Yep. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Down State Road 70. I'm just concerned with whatever might be in your current ordinance not maybe protecting the citizens. I know you shared that that's why you're not wanting it by a residential area. I really having moratorium in place puts a pause on that so that you can get those ordinances in place. That's a huge deal. We just did that in our county. And I think it's the best thing for your citizens. It does a great thing that nothing can come in under current ordinance when people are not protected. And I'm just going to share kind of what I shared at our APC meeting. It would be great if the farmer might get stick a capo in a residential area, right? You hook up to city water, you don't have to fill up. You hook up to city sewage, you don't have to haul manure. And probably your workers live right down the street. So if the weather's bad, they come to work, right? But is that great for the people around that people? No. Nobody wants to smell that. Nobody wants to fly. Nobody wants extra traffic. XYZ of, semis hauling in moving them. It's kind of the same thing for a data center. We have cited that it could be on ag land, right? Which is great for them.
Your current, it is not allowed in a residential or ag land right now. Okay.
So on ag land, there's plenty of acres and there's lots of high power lines that they could tie right into. So they're not having to upfront that as much more infrastructure costs as far as electric. Water is unlimited, right? They don't have to be on city water, so it's not metered. And there's fewer neighbors, so they have less great neighbor, money to pack out. But that's not great for the neighbors that are there. Same kind of thing, what happens to their wells, what happens to the noise, etc. I really feel like a moratorium would be a great thing. I know you guys have already chosen to go ahead with ordinance. But what happens if a data center puts their permits in right now and your people aren't protected? That would be my biggest concern.
Yep, so we looked at that. The public process is the same for the moratorium. So that's why we had the decision point tonight. Even if we were to adopt a moratorium, we still have to have a public hearing. Then it still has to go to, so it's the exact same timeline. So there's nothing we can do today for that. Except that they could only put it in an industrial or business zoned area.
Do you have height restrictions? Do you have those things in your ordinance to protect people, even if it isn't a business environment?
Moving as fast as we can on this ordinance is to protect those people.
Is this that opportunity for them to come in and do anything while you work hard on that, that it's ironic, so that you do have those protections. And that's the only reason I'm saying that. It's really like, we chose that in our system, it's large, that, you know, protected because once again, data centers might be the greatest thing that ever happened. But having all those things in place to protect our citizens, to protect our people, protect our friends, your neighbors, X, Y, and Z is what's really.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Bob. I'm with my wife here. We're going back to Foot Farms. We're at 10394 East Lewisburg Road, for Indiana State Department of Agriculture 2024 River Friendly Farmer Award for best management practices on the farm that concern protect Indiana's soil and water resources. I don't know exactly what you're wanting to hear or not hear right now, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of reached on a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and go with it. I'm personally in favor of a complete ban altogether. If we're not going to go with a complete ban, I want like a 5-year moratorium so we get all this stuff figured out. And then when we're talking about ordinances, I want to see huge setbacks, like 1,500 feet or more from the property. Water, I want to see specific language that says they cannot pump discharge water into the aquifer or in the rivers or streams. You know, this discharge contains PFAS and other forever chemicals and carcinogens that I don't want to spoil my paradise. And everybody else's paradise down the Wabash River, the Ohio River, the Mississippi River, into the Gulf. You know, not to mention the fish, the aquatic invertebrates that call that paradise also. You know, on the note of sound, there's no mention of your DBC, the C decibel. They're always talking about dBA. Your 55 decibel setback at the property line is a dBA. DBC is the stuff that, if you heard about, Kokomo had as far back into the late 90s. There's a Haynes International was implicated in the Kokomo hum. People were actually moving out of town, moving out of the county to get away from it because they were losing their, they couldn't sleep. They were getting hypertension and all kinds of disorders. But that Kokomo hum drove people to relocate. According to Veladas, in 2016, DVC creates low frequency noise that has been shown to cause sleep fragmentation, hypertension, headaches, reduced concentration. And according to Alves, Pierre, and Bronco in 2022, long-term exposure to low frequency noises of DVC can cause a physical thickening of cardiovascular tissues like the pericardium. And it is an actual physical stressor, not just mental annoyance. Boehner et al. In 2025 found that nighttime noises as low as 33 decibels can fragment sleep, increase cortisol stress hormone levels, and raise risk of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. With all this in mind, I propose a 40 decibel nighttime limit, not daytime, but nighttime limit at property line, along with a 50 decibel continuous DVC property. On enforcement, I would like to see large fines for violations in place. Any ordinance should be as stringent as possible with teeth as sharp as possible. Once again, I want to reiterate that I'm for a complete ban, not an ordinance, or an ordinance that, completely banned. And if you're gonna talk about moratorium, I want to see a 5-year moratorium, so we can, relax and move up. Or other people that are locked out of other places and they're off into the running, that they're, and what was it, Fulton County, our neighbors, they threatened to go to Miami County if they got locked out of there, and they got locked out of there. And those guys, you don't want to do business with them. They got, class action lawsuits against them for, over promising and under delivering to their customers. Check it out, it's all the way in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Susan Reed, Smith owner, lifetime resident. As Bob was saying, it was, I didn't get everybody in this room's idea that we were coming tonight to hear about a moratorium. You just went right to the ordinance stage, which does leave us open. Now we're all gonna be nervous every day. Is there one gonna sneak under the wire before you get your ordinance? We need that to be standard.
Okay, so I'll address one of your comments. Even if we were to adopt a moratorium tonight, it is 2 months before that actually becomes active. So that's why we are working on getting the ordinance in place to protect everybody, because it's the same timeline, no matter if we get an ordinance or if we adopt a moratorium. Mark, am I correct in that? I just want to make sure, yes. So that's why we had to make a decision tonight of which way that we were going to go, but it's the same timeline, no matter what path was chosen tonight. Yes, it's the same path. We still, so we don't make any of the regulations. Anything that we do, we have to then hold a public hearing, and it has to go to commissioners. So even if this body were to adopt a moratorium tonight, we have to have a public hearing at the next meeting, and then it has to go to commissioners. So I don't know where you got your information from, but it is not correct.
You, us, more time to come together on the ordinance. This way.
It's the exact same timeline. Yeah, it's the exact same timeline. So. Okay, I think I saw Jill. Yeah.
Jill Sherrick, 26 South Saber 19 of the room. I just want to ask, kind of what she stated here, and I understand you're saying there's this 2-month time frame, whether you do the moratorium process or an ordinance. However, as elected officials, most of you there are elected officials, your job is to represent the constituents. And what is best in the interest of the people. And the people here in this room tonight, I believe probably every single person in this room right here is completely opposed to data centers right now. Which is why, and what she's alluding to, the moratorium is in the best interest of the people right now versus jumping right straight to an ordinance. We do need time to think and investigate and see what's happening. What is other counties doing? What are the effects? What are the pros? What are the cons? You've got to weigh all of this out. So I do feel that the best interest of this county and the people at this time is a moratorium.
Thank you. Anybody else tonight? Yes, Tori. One last comment, please.
One last, okay.
Yeah.
So just kind of bouncing off everybody and what you said earlier about how you did take all of our comments into consideration, everything like that. I won't speak for everybody. I will speak for the people in my group right here, though. I know for a fact that we all asked for a total ban on A1 or A2 land. Am I allowed to ask why you chose to not do that?
So it's not allowed now. I mean, essentially that it's already, I'll use the word, what's the word? Like there's already a ban on it.
With the special, like,
Yeah, there's already a ban. So we would just be restating what's already in the allowed uses table.
So are we not allowed to have a total ban on that?
Well, there already is one.
Okay, so I'm talking about like, just straight up not allowed, not even with conditional use, not with special
Yeah,
exception.
so the way that, and Mark, jump in here, if I'm saying something wrong. So anybody in the state of Indiana, that's the whole reason why Board of Zoning Appeals exists, is because somebody wants an exception to the zoning ordinance. So we could state that, but then they have a legal right to still go through BZA.
Okay.
And if they disagree with that, then they can file a lawsuit in circuit court. So like that's anybody's legal right. Like, I mean, it doesn't, not this ordinance, any ordinance. So, I mean, by this already is essentially banning it in those agricultural areas, but they have a legal right. Anybody has a legal right to file a petition with BZA for anything. That's why BZA was set up. Mark, am I correct? Incorrect? Please jump in. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
Brad Rogers, 3444 West, 100 North. My more general question to the commission. What is the commission stance? Are they for or against having the data centers? Because that'll let the community know whether or not they're fighting against a group that wants them or fighting against a group that doesn't.
Yeah, so I will answer that question with the intention behind the state of Indiana in the zoning is you have to allow for economic activity, and you have to protect the citizens of the county. That's the mandate of why planning commissions exist. And the point of local control is that a group of local people are selected to do that. Where those two things intersect and where that line is what we get to debate on this issue, right? So the Planning Commission is not necessarily for or against any certain project. I'll just so in my tenure here on this board, we've worked through wind and solar, right? So what we have to do is we have to objectively look at it and say, how do you provide economic activity and protect the citizens there? It doesn't mean that we're for or against any of that specific project. You know, there are a number of us, including community members here, that worked on the solar ordinance. It doesn't mean we were for that or against it. However, we had to have rules and guidelines of how we're going to handle those projects and what are the rules around those projects. So I would ask that question is a little leading, and that we're not necessarily for or against this, but we are for having language that appropriately defines these and can say what you want to do, or if you want to build this sort of use, where are we going to allow it and where are we not? Is that fair?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Minutes Road 2891 South 50 West. What is the ROI for the community by letting data centers come in?
So again, we are tasked with how do you provide economic development opportunities. We're not tasked with an individual project, again, of looking at an individual ROI. That would be economic development in the Board of Commissioners.
What you're going to do. You make the best decisions for the community. What is the ROI for the community? Short answer is there is none. There are no permanent jobs. It does nothing. They don't stimulate the economy. They don't help anybody here. They just take. They don't play. Everyone else in this room works and stimulates the local economy, benefits the local community. Data centers don't do that.
Yes, sir.
My name is Matthew Berenberg. I'm at 13114 South 500 East Amboy. I am an attorney. I'm not here on behalf of anyone. I'm just speaking on my own behalf, but I wanted to say something about the timeline of the moratorium versus the ordinance. And if it's the same timeline, it's the same timeline. I totally get that. Where I think there may be a difference is the timeline for the ordinance is assuming that there's agreement at next meeting as to what the language is going to be, whereas a moratorium is not going to have the language to speak. And that is what can stretch out the timeline of an ordinance, because people are disagreeing over certain language and you're trying to come together as a group. And it creates the possibility of additional hearings, additional opportunities to get together and do things, and all of that involves delay. Whereas a moratorium will at least stop that, will at least protect it while that time frame is being extended with respect to that. So I guess with respect, I ask that we go down both paths at the same time, so that a moratorium could be put in place to protect in the event that time on the ordinance is required in order to do that. This could be an open-ended moratorium, so that anytime you move forward with the ordinance and we replace the moratorium, it does not have to have any defined time frame, anything along those lines. It simply provides that protection in the event that discussion is still required in order to come to a consensus on what an ordinance should say.
Mark, do you have any comment on that?
It's a very good point that if at the next meeting, there are so significant changes that you want to hold another public hearing because the ordinance has changed so much, you're extending that time frame an extra month. Moratoriums to me make a lot more sense when you require a long period of time to look at something before an ordinance is put in place. But even a month can be significant in this case. So we could have a public hearing on both the ordinance and the moratorium, but if the recommendation is, well, and ultimately the commissioners could have a different outcome too. So, but if the ordinance is put in place, the moratorium would have no effect.
Okay. Thank you very much. One more. Oh, one more. Yes, sir.
My concern is who's gonna monitor the EMR, the EMS produced by any data center?
Not familiar with that terminology.
Electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic field. It's very harmful to the environment, any animals, bees, fish, anything in the area.
Who's speaking on that?
Join in with him. What about the frequency? Frequencies change personalities, not counting in humans as well as animals, everything. The crops, it changes the crops, the way they are raised, how they seed, all that. I'm worried about the frequencies. I think it'd be the generator and all that done, because we're gonna hear it.
What was your name, ma'am?
Oh, sorry, Nylander Kathleen, 212E6 group. NIALETTA CAPLINGER.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you have sense. 9815 for road. But I'm actually in Cass County, like across the line, which advice is why would you come to a Miami County meeting? Well, number one is this. Cass County has the highest cancer rate in the state. You can look it up. Groundwater. There's a lot of it. Of anybody that pays attention to farming and stuff, if you walk out right now and check the groundwater, if they do studies on this data center, do they check groundwater levels of it? Because that's a good question. Right now, I have 5 wells for 5 spring wells. I've lived on this farm for 60-some years. Every one of them is completely dry. I've never seen it my entire life. Right now, everybody on groundwater is so low And we're talking data centers have to use groundwater to cooling in them. Where's it all gonna come from? We're already way below, whole state of Indiana is below. That is a big concern. And it's gonna affect not only Cass County, it's gonna affect Miami County. Right now, if you walk out here, just go out here north of town here. Remember the wells that all come in down there? The water that flows, they're out here to west of town. Look at it, it's way, way down. There's hardly any water running in it. And that is a concern to me. And I think it should be concerned with everybody in my county. Oh, yeah. Oh, take Fulton County. Data centers are starting to pop up like Dollar Generals. And the CEO can't even tell you in Dollar General how many stores he's got. Data centers are becoming the same thing. And it's very concerning. Agricultural land, you can't eat that stuff. You gotta have the land into it. And it's like contaminated. And you know, you're a committee, you said here, you're an economic development committee. Commissioners passed it. Well, I have a question here. I worked in this county for almost 40 years in this county. One of the biggest factories right over here, contamination in the ground. I asked the committees of this city, I asked, where was everybody at when this contamination was going on? Cass County, take a look at the battery factory they're going to do right now, trying to get rid of 187,000 tons of concrete from the battery factory. And there again, committees sat there for years, said the best thing for the city. 40 years later, guess what? We got a big problem. We don't know what to do with it. I think it takes the future, this committee, future of our commissioners, to look deeper into things before they put it in the ground.
Okay, we'll do one more comment. Yes, sir.
In Akron County, we did get a 1-year moratorium on ours. We have an ordinance that needs to be written. I hope it's got a whole lot more than what you've stated so far. We're thinking about 10 or 15 foot high berm around the whole property. Of course, we're looking at agricultural land, unfortunately. Also, have you got in there anything in your ordinance, a bond, in case they would fold up in 7 or 8 years and move out? You start to clean it up. Maybe you've got that. Also, one other thing I didn't hear mentioned was water that they call it a closed system. But they do have to flush that water because of all of the biochemicals in it to prevent organisms from growing, anti-rust. Somewhere that water has to be flushed. And who's have they got a retention pond in there for that? So several things to consider. Thank you.
Okay. So again, we will be posting a draft of this. We would love comments on what you like or don't like about it, and any language specifics are very much encouraged from it. And you will have, again, ample opportunity to share comments at the public hearing at the next meeting. So
Will be shared on that email.
The website.
It's our county website. Yeah.
What do you?
I believe it's miamicounty.in.gov. Yep. Yes. Yes, sir. I'll have a motion to adjourn. BZA. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, Mark, we're within our right to put the moratorium, if we want to do a public meeting for the moratorium after the public meeting for the data center ordinance, correct?
Yes.
We're within our rights to run those.
Hold on, guys. We're still talking here. If we could just give us a couple.
Yeah, well, I would say you have one and then the other, but yes, on the same day.
I would make a motion to hold the public hearing for the moratorium after the public hearing for the data center ordinance.
Okay, so he has a motion to schedule a public hearing after the public hearing for a moratorium at the next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from the commissioner.
I think the other way around
Say that again.
was, I mean, there's no sense having the hearing on the ordinance if we're gonna give ourselves another year.
Well,
It's not about-
what my thought was to hear how the discussion on the data center went. If we end up stalling out on that, then we have the moratorium discussion
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. And
That's what
the
I thought.
moratorium's doesn't have to be open-ended. We can say once an ordinance is developed or put into place, then the moratorium is no longer,
That's the language. in the
yeah,
Previously proposed moratorium.
okay,
I think was considered last month.
yeah.
So the discussion would be for a public hearing scheduled after we consider the ordinance in case that discussion goes lengthy and gets drawn out, so that a moratorium could be discussed and voted on. Okay. Any other, I have a first and a second on the board. Any other board discussion on that? Everybody understand what you're voting for?
Can I ask a question on that?
Not right now.
Okay.
So. Okay. Mark, you're okay with all that in that discussion? Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead with a roll call vote, please.
Dan Hunt,
All right.
Tim Allwine,
Aye.
Brad Bird,
Aye.
Stuart Gregg,
Aye.
Brett Palmer,
Aye.
Fred Musselman,
Aye.
Jamie Hopper,
Aye.
Lynette Smith,
Aye.
Greg Wilkinson.
Okay, motion passes. So we'll have a public hearing scheduled after the other public hearing. Back-to-back public hearings.
Same
So,
meeting?
at the same meeting. Okay. Anything else from the board for tonight?
I motion that we adjourn.
Motion, do I have a second? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
If you're here for BZA, we will get started at 7:15, so